Yes, Ms. Mahumane.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have obtained further instructions together with my attorney from client regarding the situation. Chair, my instructions are that prior to the instructions, we've also looked at the provisions of Regulation 8 and Regulation 12 of the Rules of the Commission, and we've extensively advised client on same and the repercussions that fall forthwith. Chair, my instructions are that Mr. Mogotsi has voluntarily made himself available to the Commission, and he gave evidence without being summoned to come. It is not a refusal to answer questions specifically with regards to General Sibia. His response thereto is that he will not incriminate himself any further, thus will not answer the question. If the Commission so requires, it may also ensure, or rather just double check with Mr. Mogotsi if whether those are the correct instructions.
I'm not sure whether I follow. Is the stance that Mr. Mogotsi this afternoon will not be answering any questions, and that his stance with regard to all questions put to him is that he will not answer, and that he will claim his privilege against self-incrimination in response to all questions?
Chair, this far my instructions fall on the evidence of General Sibia. I'm uncertain.
That's what confuses me. I'm not sure I follow that.
Chair, if I may, I see a nod from Mr. Mogotsi when Chair asks that would it be with all the other witnesses, and I see a nod from Mr. Mogotsi's side. May Chair confirm for me?
Yes. Perhaps let me ask you directly, Mr. Mogotsi. I'm not sure that I follow your counsel. I want to establish from you whether your stance is that you will claim privilege against self-incrimination in response to all questions, whatever their nature.
Chair, I'll sit here and wait for all the questions. I will respond to each and every question, as I said. If question is posed, I'm not refusing. If I say I do not want to incriminate myself, I'm answering. I'm aware of the repercussion, as I'll be in contempt with the Commission. So I'm saying a self-incriminatory kind of environment, I believe I should be given an opportunity to do that. I'll wait for every question, I'll respond. I won't say I put a blanket in all the questions. As they come, I will respond.
Mr. Chaskalson, I guess the best way to deal with it is for you to put all your questions to Mr. Mogotsi.
Let's proceed then, Chair.
Yes,
So
yes.
My first question was, is General Sibia correct to say that the first time that he met you was in Cape Town around the January the 8th event?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
My second question is General Sibia correct when he told us that he never discussed any official policing business or operational, investigative, or intelligence matters with you at any time?
Still, I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Then let me proceed to another question. The man who you have described as your co-handler said that he met with you and General Sabia in Bryanston well before January the 8th, 2025. Is that correct?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's proceed. When you were at Parliament, you withdrew your allegations against General Mkhwanazi and King Misisulu, and you apologized for casting aspersions on them. Can we then accept that from your perspective, the Commission doesn't have to pursue those allegations further?
Like I said, every question I will respond, Chair. Indeed, in Parliament I said so, but I do not want to incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's move on to your status as an agent or an informant. Can I ask you to go to page 8 of the exhibit bundle?
Chaskalson, Chair made a ruling the other day that we should refer to CJC numbers for the transcription. CJC 40.
CJC 40. I can see myself running into difficulties on that. Can you just email me an index so that I can look at it?
Chairperson, we'll assist you because we have the physical file. So if you give us a page number, we'll refer.
Thank you. So on page 8, there is an affidavit from a colonel in the Division of Crime Intelligence who is the section head of undercover operations and agent program. And you'll see in paragraph 1 that colonel states, this section is responsible for registration of all undercover operations and deployment of undercover agents, either discharged or non-discharged agents for head office in 9 provinces. And then he says, Mr. Brown Mogotsi with identity number, and he gives you identity number, has never been in our program as an undercover agent. There are no records that indicate that Mr. Mogotsi was ever an agent. In our manual database and a computer system, his name does not appear as a person that was ever an undercover agent. As the Undercover Operations and Agent Support section, we provide operational support functions and administer all agent files for members of the South African Police Service. The management and administration of all undercover agents, regardless of the division, component or province where a person is placed, is the responsibility of this office. Undercover agents are members of the South African Police Service. Mr. Brown Mogotsi was never employed, enlisted in the South African Police Service. His name does not reflect on the record systems of the South African Police Service. I therefore deny that Mr. Brown Mogotsi was ever an undercover agent of the South African Police Service. So the person charged with maintaining all of the records of undercover agents in the South African Police Service Criminal Intelligence Division denies that you were ever an undercover agent. Do you have a response to that?
I responded in Parliament. This person only got appointed in 2024. I know how he got appointed. I know where he used to work. He can never know me. Therefore, I would not want to implicate myself. Are
you asserting a privilege against self-incrimination not to answer that question?
Yes, that's correct. That's the answer I'm going to give to all the questions, by the way.
Well, we'll still go through the questions one by one.
Yes.
Who informed you that you were acting as an agent?
I'm not incriminating myself, Chair.
Did anybody inform you that you were acting as an agent?
I would not want to incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's go down to the next annexure. I think it would be CJC 41. It's at page 10. And there you'll see this is an affidavit with a colonel stationed at the Secret Services account in the Division of Crime Intelligence. And the colonel says, I am the acting section head of finance responsible overall management of the financial administration of the Secret Services account. Part of my duties include administrative management of informer database nationally. The SSA Central Informant Index falls under the control of the Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence or his/her delegate appointed for this purpose and serves as the nodal point for the registration and handling of record checks relating to informants. All active and inactive informants are placed on the register, as it is important to know if a person is or has been an informant previously. Paragraph 4. A record of all known information peddlers, hawkers is kept on a separate database to ensure that such persons' particulars are supplied for record purposes. The bona fides of such persons must be placed under suspicion, as they are normally not trustworthy and attempt to provide information to the highest bidder, irrespective of the consequences. And then if you go down to paragraph 5 on page 11, the Division of Crime Intelligence is responsible for registering and managing informants. All registered informants are subject to verification every 6 months. During this process, handlers and their immediate commanders are required to physically verify the source and submit a certificate to this office for capturing. The ID number, and your numbers given, belonging to Mr. Brown Mogotsi was tested against the crime intelligence database. This ID number is registered in the CAPTHAN system with the, and that's been redacted. The source was handled by, and it's redacted, and co-handled by, and it's also redacted. The source was registered on 9 January 2000, on 20 August 2001. The handlers requested an amount of 1,200 rands for recruitment fee to motivate the contact. According to our report, there are no other financial transactions relating to the source for the period he was active in our system. So the colonel responsible for administering crime intelligence records of all informants says you were an informant for a brief period in 2001, but there is no record of you being an informant ever after. Do you have a comment on that?
No incriminating, sir.
Sorry?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Now, in fairness to you, I should place on record that the person who you describe as your co-handler says that he was aware that you were being run as an informant. He does confirm that you were being run as an informant. He, however, was emphatic that you were never an agent, only an informant. Do you want to comment on that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
In your affidavit, you described yourself as a contact agent. The person who you referred to as your co-handler says there is no such thing as a contact agent. Do you want to comment on that?
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
And that person also testified that you and he were homeboys from Soweto and knew each other outside SAP's work. What is your response to that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
Now, in your statement, you say that your handler was Warrant Officer Mabizela. Do you stand by that statement? There are 6 different references in your statement to Warrant Officer Mabizela as your handler.
Yes, Mabizela, Mabuza. I understand that. I don't want to incriminate myself.
Sorry, you said Mabizela Mabuza.
I don't want to incriminate myself.
You don't want to incriminate yourself. Well, the man who you describe as your co-handler was adamant that you were never handled by Warrant Officer Mabizela. only by Warrant Officer Mabuza. What's your response to that?
Let me not incriminate myself, Chair.
And the man who you describe as your co-handler was also adamant that he wasn't your co-handler. He said he just played a supervisory role in relation to Warrant Officer, a minor supervisory role in relation to Warrant Officer Mabuza. Do you want to respond to that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
He said the primary supervisory role in relation to Warrant Officer Mabuza was played by a Colonel Duma who was later promoted to Brigadier Duma. Do you want to respond to that?
I don't want to incriminate myself.
And he also said that Colonel Duma was involved as the supervisor of your handler, Warrant Officer Mabuza, right from your first alleged meeting with the man you describe as your co-handler. Do you have a response to that?
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Can you explain why there is no mention of Colonel Duma in your statement?
I'm not going to implicate myself. It was Brigadier Duma, actually. Let me not incriminate myself.
Well, he was later promoted to Brigadier Duma, but at the beginning we are told he was Colonel Duma. Can you say why there's no mention of him in your statement?
Let me not incriminate myself.
Can you say why there's no mention of Warrant Officer Mabuza in your statement?
Mabuza and Mabizela is almost the same name. They refer to one person, but let me not implicate myself.
So if I understand you to say that Mabuza and Mabizela are the same person.
Let me not incriminate myself, Chair.
A person who was your co-handler said he introduced you with Colonel Duma, Warrant Officer, and Warrant Officer Mabuza to General Sabia. Do you have a comment on that?
I'm not going to incriminate myself. Now,
Warrant Officer Mabuza is dead. Are you aware, or do you want to, can you confirm that?
It's true. May his soul rest in peace.
Brigadier Duma, who used to be Colonel Duma, is also dead. Can you confirm that?
May his soul rest in peace. No, it's true, he has passed on.
General Mfazi, who you say in your statement is the first person to whom your handlers reported, has also passed away.
All of them, but let me not incriminate myself.
Mr. Mogotsi, just so that I understand your answer, when you say all of them, I don't want to incriminate myself, are you saying all of them have passed on?
That's correct.
Or is that what you're saying? All right, thank you.
Chair, you know, when I was here, I told the commission how a man was killed. The evidence leader does not want to ask me things that I presented. How a man bought a property for 100 million, put it in his daughter's name. Those questions are not asked. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chairperson.
You see, Mr. Mogotsi, there are only two people who may have had anything to do with your operations in crime intelligence and who are still alive. The one is the person you describe as your co-handler, and the other is General Sabia. Is there anybody else in crime intelligence who may have had something to do with your operations who is still alive?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Well, the two people who you have identified as being involved in your alleged role as a crime intelligence operative are first General Sabia, and he denies ever discussing any police matters with you. Can you comment on that?
I don't comment, I don't want to implicate myself.
And then Your co-handler testified to us that he had very little to do with your operational activities. That was all handled by Warrant Officer Mabuza and Brigadier Duma. And he can't account for he has no knowledge of any reports that you gave to Warrant Officer Mabuza or Brigadier Duma. That was his evidence. Do you want to comment on that?
No comment.
You see, Mr. Mogotsi, and I'm genuinely wanting to point something out here which may be to your assistance. It's not just Mr. Karim who is throwing you under the bus. It's everyone in SAPS who has ever dealt with you who's also throwing you under the bus. And you need to think about that in relation to your answers.
Yeah, but I never fell under the bus.
Sorry?
You
never yes.
Let me not incriminate myself, Chair.
Let's look at your alleged crime intelligence investigation. What were you told to investigate in relation to crime intelligence?
I'm not going to implicate myself, Chair.
Sorry, you're not going to?
To incriminate myself.
I see. Who was the target of your investigation into crime intelligence?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Mr. Mogotsi, you've criticized me for not following up your alleged leads in relation to crime intelligence properties. Who tasked you to follow those leads?
Let me not incriminate myself. You know, Chair, the gentleman who seated here, he came to the lawyers with a document saying, Mr. Chattel say you must check this to be presented here before you made a ruling. Senior Chattelson knew he was going to come and ask me a question because he sent this gentleman to come and see my lawyers and say, you say you must prepare yourself. Let me not incriminate myself, Chair.
Yes, Mr. Mogotsi, to set the record straight, between Advocate Hasim and ourselves, we agreed that we would both prepare to ask questions to you and that I would take responsibility for preparing if there were any additional documents that had to be put before you. That is the context in which that document was presented to your lawyers. If the recusal application had gone your way, Advocate Hasim would be here asking the same questions as I'm asking.
Thank you, Chair.
You understand the point?
Yes, very well. Thank you,
So your testimony would have been heard regardless of the outcome. If the application had been granted, Ms. Hasim would have been the one questioning you now. So those documents would have been relevant.
Either way.
Either way, yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Mogotsi, what did you discover in your investigations into crime intelligence?
I'm not going to incriminate myself, Chair.
Why did you criticize me for not pursuing leads that you allegedly offered me in relation to crime intelligence properties if you weren't prepared to testify to that for fear of self-incrimination?
Chair, when I came here with evidence, in everything I said, this is two questions you asked me. My ID number and the matter in the Northwest Health Department. Very relevant. The narrative was to prove that I'm a liar. Everyone, they know I'm a liar. None of the things that I submitted or anything that I wanted to have been corroborated were never entertained till today. Let me not incriminate myself, Chair.
And did you report your discoveries to General Sabia?
I'm not going to incriminate myself or General Sabia.
Did you report your discoveries to General Khan?
I don't know General Khan. I never worked with General Khan, and I'm not going to incriminate myself.
The man you describe as your co-handler says that he works with General Khan and regards General Khan as his close friend. Are you aware of that?
That is something that I should not incriminate myself with, Chair.
Let's look at the documents that you wanted me to investigate. Can I ask you to go